GA Revitalization cannot be seen in isolation. It needs to be linked to the larger umbrella of comprehensive reforms of the UN, including that of the Security Council. The structures and framework of the UN organs must reflect contemporary global realities rather than that of 1945. Distinguished co-chairs, thank you for organizing today's debate on this key theme. India has consistently held that the standing of the General Assembly in the UN is unparalleled. Its universality and intergovernmental nature make this congregation close to a global parliament. Sovereign equality and inclusivity are hallmarks of this assembly. We reiterate that it is important to respect its position as a primary policy-making and representative organ of the UN, both in letter and spirit. We live in a time where different parts of the world are marred by conflicts and violence. The burden of delivery on the UN with regard to pressing global issues is quite pronounced. The efficacy of multilateralism would be defined by UN's ability to match these expectations. General Assembly revitalization is at the core of addressing the expectation-delivery gap. Reforms hold the key on this front. I would like to make 6 specific points in this backdrop. First, the UN Charter accords a preeminent position to the General Assembly. It can also consider questions relating to the powers and functions of any UN organ. Attempts to bring domains which were traditionally under the purview of General Assembly into the fold of other organs would be an erosion of its stature and authority. Second, the President of General Assembly is a key institution. We should accord the highest importance to it, keeping in view the key role it plays in the shaping and driving of the debates and processes under the Assembly's purview. There should be greater allocation of human resources and effective transition mechanisms for handover and takeover. Third, working methods have a direct correlation with efficiency and effectiveness. Fulfilling foundational responsibilities is more important than technical adherence to procedural intricacies. The latter are tools that facilitate the former. They are not the primary purpose of this August forum. Therefore, reform of working methods is central to the process of revitalization. Fourth, the work and agenda of the 6 committees in the General Assembly needs to be rationalized and streamlined. This would enable the member states to focus more on substantive discussions and relevant functional outcomes. Fifth, GA revitalization cannot be seen in isolation. It needs to be linked to the larger umbrella of comprehensive reforms of the UN, including that of the Security Council. The structures and framework of the UN organs must reflect contemporary global realities rather than that of 1945. Finally, Resolution 77/335 on the revitalization of the work of the GA called on the President of the General Assembly to provide a digital handbook on past practices, data and recommendations for the fulfillment of the functions and powers of the General Assembly as outlined in Chapter 4 of the Charter. Over the past 80 years, under Chapter 4 of the Charter, the General Assembly has engaged in a wide range of peace and security-related activities. The handbook released last year is an excellent resource for member states and other stakeholders. It must now guide us in revitalizing the General Assembly's functioning. In closing, I would like to reiterate India's readiness to working with all member states in a constructive and forward-looking manner on revitalization of the General Assembly.